Here is a challenge. Design the world yourself. One rule: sin can never enter it. Not once. Take your time. Delete whatever you have to. The apple, the serpent, the garden. Keep going. Delete the choice. Delete the no a human being could ever say to God. Now look at what's left standing in your world, and ask whether anything in it is still capable of love. That's the problem, and the Bible saw it first. Let's be honest about where this question comes from. It does not come from debate stages. It comes from gravesides, from hospital hallways, from the 2 a.m. version of you that has run out of polite theology. If God knew what sin would cost every war, every cancer ward, every small betrayal in every kitchen, why open the door at all? Any decent father would throw himself between his child and a speeding car. God saw the car coming from eternity, and he did not step in front of it. That is the question at full strength. And it deserves better than the answers it usually gets. His ways are higher than our ways. It's a mystery. Those sentences may be true, but notice what they do. They end the conversation exactly where it should begin. So we are not going to reach for mystery. We are going to take the question seriously enough to test it, because buried inside it is an assumption almost nobody checks. The assumption that a world where sin was impossible would be a better world. That world sounds beautiful, until you try to build it. So build it. Go back to the challenge from the beginning and actually run it. To guarantee sin never enters, it is not enough to remove the serpent. Sin is not a substance. It is not a virus that slipped past security. Sin, at its root, is a possibility that lives inside a capacity, the capacity of a real will to say no to God. The Hebrew word is chatat, and it means to miss the mark. But hear what that image requires. Only an archer can miss. A stone never misses, because a stone never aims. So to lock sin out, you have to reach deeper than the garden. You have to delete the aim itself. Delete the capacity to refuse. And the moment you do, watch what dies with it. Trust dies. There is nothing left to entrust. Loyalty dies. No one can be loyal who cannot leave. And love dies first. Squeeze a doll and it says, "I love you." It says it every time. It says it perfectly. And it means nothing, precisely because it could never have said anything else. A guaranteed yes is not a yes. It is a recording. This is why the first command in the Bible is also the first act of trust. You may surely eat of every tree of the garden, but of the tree of the knowledge of good and evil you shall not eat. Genesis 2:16, 1:7. Hear how strange that is. A command only means something to a creature who can break it. In the very act of saying you shall not, God was handing over something no other creature in Genesis receives a real choice, with real weight. The tree was not a trap. It was the price tag on the word may. But if that is true, if freedom, by its very nature, carries the possibility of abuse, then there is a scene a few pages later that should unsettle you. A scene where God watches sin move toward a human heart in real time. He is standing right there. And what he does next is stranger than anything philosophy would have predicted. A field, east of Eden. Two brothers have brought offerings. One is received, one is not. And Cain's face falls, the Hebrew says it that plainly. His face fell, as if something behind it had collapsed. He is angry. He is humiliated. And murder is minutes away. Then God comes to him. Not after the crime. Before it. This is the first recorded intervention against sin anywhere in Scripture. Whatever God does here is his opening move, his answer, in action, to our entire question. Why are you angry? If you do well, will you not be accepted? And if you do not do well, sin is crouching at the door. Its desire is for you, but you must master it. Genesis 4:6-7. Look at what is inside that sentence. This is the first time the word sin chatted appears in the Bible. Not in Eden. Here. And it appears as a predator. Crouching robettes, a word in which some scholars hear the echo of an ancient Mesopotamian demon, believed to lurk at doorways. Either way, the image is unmistakable. Sin is at the door, coiled, and its desire is aimed at Cain. And then comes the verb, timshol. From mashal, to rule, to govern. Translators have argued over its force for more than 2,000 years. The oldest Greek translation renders it as a plain future. You shall rule over it. Most English Bibles read it as a charge. You must master it. The Jewish Study Bible hears a possibility. You can be its master. Command, promise, or permission, the arguments are real, and the honest answer is that the grammar can carry all three. But notice what every reading shares. In every version, the verb belongs to Cain. God names the danger. God warns the man. God stands close enough to speak, and he does not grab the knife. The first anti-sin intervention in history is a word, not a wall. Faced with sin crouching at a human door, God's move is to strengthen the chooser, not to delete the choice. He treats Cain as a moral agent, even at the edge of murder, because the alternative is to unmake him as a man. And the text does not flinch at the cost. Cain rises up against Abel, his brother, and kills him. The blood cries out from the ground. Freedom, honored, was abused exactly as freedom can be. If you want to know what it cost God to make creatures who could really choose, the answer is lying in that field. Quick word before we continue. If this kind of honest digging into the hardest questions is helping you, consider becoming a channel member. That support is what makes it possible to keep doing this work, week after week. And to those of you who already do, thank you. You are part of every one of these. For thousands of years, that scene stayed a story. Then, in 1955, someone turned it into an equation. And for nearly 20 years, it looked like the equation had won. 12 pages. That is all it took. In 1955, an Oxford-trained atheist philosopher named J. L. Mackie published a short article in a philosophy journal, and in it he did something far more dangerous than mock Christianity. He did the math on it. God is all-powerful. God is all good. Evil exists. Pick two. Mackie argued you cannot keep all three, and he aimed his sharpest sentence directly at everything we have said so far. An omnipotent God, he wrote, could have made beings who always freely choose the good, free, and yet guaranteed. If that world was available, and God did not create it, then either the power or the goodness has to go. Notice, that is not a sneer. That is our question. Wearing a suit. Philosophers called it the logical problem of evil. And for almost 2 decades, it was treated as checkmate. Then, in 1974, a Christian philosopher named Alvin Plantinga published a response that changed the field. The heart of it is one careful move. Omnipotence, in the classical definition, is the power to do everything that can be done. It was never the power to do nonsense. God cannot make a square circle, not because his strength runs out, but because square circle is not a thing. It is noise. And a guaranteed free choice, Plantinga argued, may be exactly that kind of noise. The moment you guarantee the outcome, the freedom is gone. The moment it is truly free, the guarantee is gone. Even omnipotence cannot make a creature genuinely free and make sure of what it does with that freedom, because making sure is precisely what freedom forbids. Now, we have to be careful here, because this is where popular apologetics oversells. Plantinga's defense did not explain your grief. It did not reveal God's reasons. It proved something narrower and harder, that the accusation of contradiction fails that all-powerful, all-good, and a world with sin in it can stand together without logical absurdity. But that narrow point landed with force. The consensus across the field shifted, among believers and skeptics alike. And Mackie himself, decades later, conceded in print that the argument no longer showed the contradiction he had claimed. The man who built the equation agreed that it did not balance. But do not relax yet, because the question does not die there. It moves, and its strongest form is not about Eden at all. It is about heaven. Here it is, the sharpest version, the one still being argued in the journals right now. Christians believe that in the world to come, the redeemed will be free truly, fully themselves, and will never sin again. Read Revelation 21 and 22, a city, open gates, no curse, no death, and no fall waiting in chapter 3. But wait, if freedom without sin is possible there, then it is possible, period. So why didn't God just start there? Why the long, bloody detour? Do not rush past that. It is a genuinely strong objection, strong enough to have its own name in the literature, and serious Christian philosophers admit that the easy answer to it fail. So let's reach for an older map. Augustine, 16 centuries ago, described the human will in 4 states. In Eden, able to sin, able not to sin. After the fall, not able not to sin. Under grace, able, again, not to sin. And in glory, the fourth state, non posse pecare, no longer able to sin. Read that last state carelessly, and it sounds like the freedom got confiscated. Read it carefully, and something else appears. Think of a master pianist. There is a sense in which she cannot play the passage wrong. Her hands will not do it. Is that inability a loss of freedom? It is the opposite. It is what her freedom grew into. Or think of a man married 50 years who cannot betray his wife. Not because anything outside him forbids it, because the man who could has, choice by choice, ceased to exist. Nothing binds him but who he has become. That cannot is not a cage. It is a character. That is Augustine's fourth state. Not freedom removed, freedom finished. A will so confirmed in love that betrayal has simply dropped out of its repertoire. And here is the answer hiding inside it. You cannot start at the 50th anniversary. The confirmed state is not a starting condition. It is a destination. It is what a will becomes on the far side of real choosing. Eden was never the final draft of the world. On Augustine's map, Eden is chapter 1, the place where the choosing begins, not where it ends. And an old strand of Christian thinking, running back to the 2nd century, says the same thing from another angle. Humanity was created, not finished, but growing, called from the image of God toward the likeness of God. And growth, by its nature, cannot be installed. It has to be walked, which leaves one last question. If the road was necessary, was it worth it? And what kind of God asks other people to walk a road like that? Here is where we are. The question assumed a better world with no possibility of sin, and when we built that world, it was empty. The first command showed that God priced freedom into creation. From the first, you may. The field east of Eden showed his method. Name the danger, strengthen the chooser, honor the choice, and grieve when the choice goes wrong. The philosophers showed that the accusation of contradiction fails. And heaven showed the destination, not Eden restored, but freedom matured a city, with open gates and confirmed hearts. Is every question answered? No. And you should distrust anyone who tells you otherwise. Could the road have been shorter? Could the price have been lower? Scripture never shows us that math, and the ache of it is real. But Scripture does show us something no philosophy predicted. The God who did not stop sin from entering the world did not stop sin from reaching him, either. He walked into the world, his gift made possible, and he let that gift do its worst to him. Betrayed by a free choice, condemned by free votes, nailed down by free hands. Heaven's answer to "why didn't you stop it" is not a syllogism. It is a cross, the place where God absorbed the abuse of freedom rather than take the freedom back. Hosea says God leads his people with cords of kindness, with bands of love. Cords, not chains. He has never once dragged anyone through a door, and he never will, because dragged love is not love, and he has wanted the real thing since the first page. The no God left possible in the garden, the verb he handed a man on the edge of murder, the 12 pages, and the answer that outlasted them. The city whose gates never shut, because no one inside wants out. It is all one answer. God did not fail to stop sin. He refused to unmake you in order to prevent it, and then he paid, in his own body, for what your freedom and mine has cost. And that word to Cain is still standing at the door. Sin still crouches. Its desire is still for you. But the verb is in your sentence now. Timshol, with one difference Cain never had. The one who mastered it completely now offers to stand in the doorway with you. Subscribe if this reframed a question you have been carrying. Leave a comment. Even one word tells us these questions matter to you. Share this with someone who has asked why God didn't just stop it all. And may the God who honored your freedom enough to weep over it and to die under it form in you a heart that no longer wants the door. God bless you.